Okay, I see Coach Smart, you're on. Can you hear us?
Yep, got you guys. Just came off mute.
Okay, great. Thanks everybody for piping in. What we'll do here, we'll ask Coach Smart if he has just a few opening remarks. Then I'm going to call on specific reporters for one question each to begin, and we'll complete that. And then if we have a little extra time, we'll open it up for a couple of general questions. Questions. Remember to please mute your microphone if you're not talking to cut out the background noise. And I think we're all good to go. Coach Smart?
Yeah, I just want to open with hope you guys are staying safe, and health and well-being of your families are obviously the utmost concern for our players and for you guys. So Claude kind of came to me and opened up the idea of visiting a little bit. I know you guys probably think we have this wealth of information and we know the exact plan, but this is not that kind of way. You know, we just got a little new information as of Friday, as you well know, and you know, today's basically moving into the weekend on Thursday, and we're still getting information by the minute, and everything changes a lot with recommendations, suggestions. We're very fortunate to have Ron Corson as an athletic trainer, is very experienced. He's headed up several committees. He's been on a lot of Zoom calls gathering information, and he's kind of my crutch when it comes to where we are in this process of getting back. And the biggest decision and ultimate decision maker for us is the well-being of our student athletes. And that's going to be the case even with this open return and the voluntary return of June 8th. But with that, I'll open it up for questions and give you the best information I can.
All right, let's go. First question to Mark Weiser, Banner Herald.
Hey, Kirby, how are you doing?
Mark, good, man.
What is your sense of how your players feel about coming back to campus to work out, given it's going to be different in terms of protocols? And has anyone expressed to you unease about the process, or what are you doing to make them more comfortable?
Well, the first thing we talk about is knowledge is power, and there's no dumb question. So obviously, leading up to the announcement Friday, we've been in communication with our players. And our players, I mean, we have Zoom meetings with them positionally and football-wise with the 8 hours we get each week. So a lot of that time is spent not necessarily on X's and O's and teaching. It's spent on information and just communication. So we've got a leadership group that we've stayed in contact with, we're able to visit with, and we provide those guys information, and each position coach provides his position group information. So, you know, we're anticipating everybody coming back under the voluntary basis. We don't have anything that would tell us that's not the case just yet, but that's certainly up to each individual player. We got a lot of work to do before we get them back, because I don't know if you guys know or not, but we have to do a complete medical workup, a physical on every kid before they're able to come back and work out. So there's a lot of steps that have to happen prior to June 8th that we're all going through now. But our guys are excited. I haven't sensed, I mean, there's obviously some apprehension and questions, but they have those same questions whether they're in Huntsville or in Macon or in Columbus of going out to work out. And they know that our facility is one of the safest, and we've certainly got the ability to care for that facility better than a lot of places they can go back home.
All right, let's go to Mike Griffith, Dog Nation.
Yeah, Coach. Again, I know there's a lot of uncertainty, but I want to ask you kind of a football-related question. With the limited amount of time, do you anticipate having to alter how much you're going to be able to install? Have you already gone through that with your coaches as far as maybe recognizing not as much offense? How advantageous is it also to have this much experience coming back on defense as far as what you'll be able to get in there?
Yeah, I think experience is probably magnified in this season, this setting, more so than ever before, because experience is so valuable when you don't get practice. And we've obviously been shortened in terms of spring practice, in terms of meetings, in terms of summer conditioning, we're already being shortened. So a lot of those things have shortened us, and we'll have to be wise in the decisions we do. Got to be smart. And that's no different than any other year. You know, you can have too much offense and too much defense and too much special teams, and then you can have not enough. And our job as coaches is to try to determine what that volume is. So to say, have we said, okay, we're only going to put 50% in, we're only going to put 70% in. We're only going to put 90% in. I can't say that. You know, it's not where we are, because we don't even know the threshold, the kind of capacity of some of our players. You know, we didn't get to go through spring ball with necessarily some of the positions, especially on offense, of guys to see what they can handle. So we'll find out what the NCAA SEC is going to allow us to do leading up to the season, because right now we don't know that. And the more they give us time-wise, the more we'll be able to do, you know, and the less they give us, the less we'll probably be able to do. But that's not something we've decided right now. And I'm excited about the experience coming back on defense, because I do think we have a lot of experience there where we probably don't have as much offensively.
Now let's go to Seth Emerson, the Athletic.
Hey, Kirby, and everybody. Kirby, I know that this is, this is not a decision that's up to you, but I'm curious to your thoughts on stadium capacity, fans coming in, whether you have any general thoughts on that, and what kind of effect you think that might have on the season, because it does appear that something along those lines is going to happen.
Yeah, you said it best. I'm not going to voice an opinion one way or the other, because it really boils down to one thing: what the experts, infectious disease people, scientists, what they come up with that is safe. Because ultimately that decision is going to boil down to what makes a person feel safe. And a lot of it has to do with the choice and decision of each and every fan and the well-being of our fans, as well as our players and our staff. So that's one of those decisions that I'm referring to the experts on. And what I found is everything we think that's going to happen can change based on what goes on from now till then. You know, our players coming back. Are there going to be any spikes? Is anything going to happen in July? We'll know a lot more about the season. People in the stands, which I know you're asking about, for September when that comes. But I think you got to look at it as that's really still 3 months away. You know, and with it being 3 months away, it's hard to make a decision. Because 3 months ago from right now, we were just finding out even what's going on. So we've got 3 months, and I'm very optimistic that we'll have fans in the stand. But to what extent, I have no clue, Seth, and I really don't want to speculate.
Let's go to Anthony Dasher, UGA Sports.
Hey, Kirby, thanks for doing this. How will the players be brought back to campus? Will it be all at once, in stages? Kind of how is that going to be happening?
Well, they're all coming back on their own. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're going to be brought back in stages. We haven't identified an exact number of players that will come back, because, again, that's voluntary. So, but as far as what we will do in our protocol, will be Ron was on a committee that made a lot of decisions, and they had infectious disease personnel. They had representatives of every university, doctors, trainers, staff. I mean, everybody's involved in that decision. But when you say, how are we going to bring them back? We're going to bring them back prior to June 8th so that they can get a medical workup. I mean, they've got to have extensive physical. They've got to have COVID tests. They got to have a lot of things done prior to June 8th. So they've got to get back prior to June 8th. So you say, how will they be brought back? They'll come back on their own. We'll have workout groups that are spaced out per the protocol that Ron and the committee came up with. They'll come in and do a really light workout initially, because we want to bring them back slowly. They'll work out in smaller groups than traditionally before, probably 20 or so guys to a group. And of the 20 that come in, they'll be subdivided into groups of 7. So you're looking at a 7-person rotation in a 12,000 square foot weight room, and they'll be spaced out. So there's a lot of protocol that goes into it, and I don't have time to go into the detail of every session they have. There'll be a cleaning crew that comes through and cleans where we are, from the indoor to the weight room, and there'll only be one door in, one door out. Won't be using the locker room. I mean, there's a lot of different things that people don't understand go into this, and I think that our players even are getting educated that it's not going to be the normal, well, I'll walk in and I go to my locker and I get my stuff and I go work out and I shower. It's going to be completely different. And a lot of that is controlled by our state, because we're adhering to the policies of our state in terms of workout protocol, showers, and locker room usage.
Okay, let's go to Chip Towers, AJC. Unmute.
Somebody had to forget the unmute thing. Kirby, good to see you, and thanks for doing this. Hope everybody's well in your place. Tell me, if you will, what this week in particular looks different for the coaches. Did you guys just get, I guess, access to the office, full access to the office, and just kind of how are your lives different because of this news and everything that's happening?
I guess when you reference this week, you mean like as in today and what's been going on this week?
Yeah, just getting ready for those guys to come next, 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll be in, we were in this week, we'll be in next week, but we're in on a little bit of a shortened version, less time in the office, and also alternating how many guys are in the office, offense, defense separated. So there's a lot of protocol there that's instituted by our university from a safety standpoint. And they've also got cleaning crews after and before we're in here that come in and protect that. So we have a shortened window, and then each side of the ball kind of has a window that they're available to come in. And we've got a small number. And then we'll phase that as next week we'll be able to get a few more. And the following week that the players come back, we'll be able to get a few more. So that's the important thing, the safety of the coaches, because as you know, and this is a documented case, it's the vulnerable population and the older or the people with immunocompromised situations. And a lot of times that can be our coaching staff, support staff, different people that work in the program that we really have to be the most careful for because they're the most at risk.
Let's go to Brandon Sudge, Macon Telegraph.
Hey, Kirby, hope everything is well with everybody over there. So I know that kind of around this time of year and everything, it's a big recruiting period, and you're normally out on helicopters going around to schools and things. So how has everything kind of changed in terms of that, and how have you guys gone about kind of hammering that down virtually in terms of contacting guys and being able to pitch your program along with the whole making sure that the families are safe and the players are safe, as we talked about?
Well, first off, it's extremely different. I mean, the recruiting world has probably changed as much as anything because you're just not capable of going to high schools. You mentioned May was a very active month for all of college football coaches, not just us. I mean, we would be going out watching spring practices. We would be going school to school. I wouldn't be able to because I don't get to go out in May. So that didn't really change for me, but it changed for a lot of our coaches. We've done what you guys know to be the case. There's no magic potion. There's nobody doing something magically that everybody else isn't doing. We're jumping on Zoom. We're communicating with parents, coaches, recruits. We're doing everything virtually, and that's really the best we can do. And, you know, they keep extending the period that you can't come on campus, the recruiting, the ability to come to our campus. They just extended that again. So it's looking like that's not going to happen through the end of July. So it's going to be a very different May, June, July period, and that's unique. So who manages that the best will be important. A lot of this to me is who had the best relationships leading into this, because at the end of the day, you can only develop so much of a relationship through a phone, through a text, through a virtual activity. And we've tried to be creative in the way we've used that. I'm certainly not going to divulge everything we've done because I don't think that's open for everybody to do. And I think that we're all competing in the SEC to try to make ourselves different. I can tell you this, it's probably created a bigger burden on our recruits. And if I was a recruit or a recruit's parent, I would be more concerned at that volume of virtual usage and phone usage. And it's probably led, and evidence shows that it's led to more kids committing, because you can make the case, well, they're committing because they can't go anywhere. I would make the case they're committing because they're sick and tired of being barraged by phone calls and virtual activities. So, you know, will we see more kids come December or November either decommit or go back and start visiting? No, I don't know. 'Cause I don't know when we're going to be able to bring kids to campus. And all that'll come out probably at the end of July when we know more about what kids are going to be able to do in recruiting.
Dean Legge, Dog Post.
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
Kirby, have you been able to visit with your mother and father, et cetera? How's that been for you, just being away from folks that you've grown up with your whole life?
Yeah, that's been probably one of the toughest things about this event is, once again, it becomes virtually, and we all can admit we probably sick of this virtual staring at squares and people popping up on screens. That's been tough because I haven't been able to visit with my mom and dad for safety purposes. They're both vulnerable population, and I'm probably no different than a lot of people my age that have their parents still and fortunate enough to have them and be able to spend time with them, but they haven't been able to get close to their grandkids and see them. And I want to do what they're comfortable with and what makes them safe. And it's been an experience. It's been new for all of us and tough. So everybody has to make their own choices and decisions. And that's been one of the experiences of this that is frustrating, certainly.
Jake Rowe, 247.
Kirby, when it comes to a lot's been made of the financial impact of not having football, of having football. When you start looking at your protocols, obviously your main motivation is the safety of the kids, but is there any kind of pressure that comes with that, hey, these universities need football, Georgia needs football, everybody does, and do you think there's some pressure on the part of you guys as head coaches that, listen, follow it to a T, you got to do everything right? Did you kind of make sure that there's a game this fall?
Yeah, it's a fine line between what is your motivation. I mean, I certainly think that fiscally and financially it's going to benefit if there is a football season, but that has nothing to do with the decisions that go into it medically. Like a lot of people have said, well, the SEC has had to come out really strong and come back with, comeback dates and return dates, return to sport, and they've got to have this protocol to allow us to play football. But every decision that's made on the SEC level, I can assure you, is made by infectious disease people based on information that's the safety and well-being of our student athletes. And the case was given to us that, different people have different perceptions of testing, and that you can't really test your way out of this, and that the accuracy of the tests are probably the biggest, scariest thing, especially the antibody test and the COVID test, that there's not any insurance that all of them are correct. So basing everything just on test and getting kids back or pressure to get things back financially doesn't do any good. The worst thing we can do as coaches or as administrators is to feel like we have to do this in order to survive financially and make a decision that is costly to even one student athlete. And I know that from the Georgia perspective, every decision we're making on the return to sport is the safety and health and well-being. There won't be pressure to go work out, to go do this extra. The kid's got to voluntarily do it. And if a guy doesn't feel comfortable, or if a guy has a fever, if a guy's sick, we don't want them to come in. We don't want them to put themselves at jeopardy. And we've got to convey that. We also, as fans, as Dog Nation, have a responsibility to make good decisions, the social distance. And I think people, the more this thing has gone, the more they begin to relax and say that, well, this won't affect me. The last thing we need right now, if people want to have a football season or any athletic season, is to have another flare-up. And the biggest thing we can do is take care of that by making good decisions, being aware. We're going to educate our players, because I promise you there's some of our players that don't feel vulnerable. They feel like they're not vulnerable because of what they've heard, because they think they have superpowers. So we're going to educate our guys to be safe, to make good decisions, and we're going to have education sessions even when they get back to give us the best opportunity to have a season. But that'll be based on the scientists, not on financial reasons.
Paul Newberry, AP. Paul, you there? Okay, Tony Barnhart, you there?
Hey, Claude, that's
I'm
Paul
good,
again.
Claude.
Can you hear me?
Thanks.
Okay, let's go to Paul. You there, Paul?
Yeah, I think I'm here now. I don't know what's going on with my mic here. Hey, Kirby, how you doing?
Good, Paul.
Just can you follow up a little bit on what you would tell any player that might feel uncomfortable about doing this? You say obviously there's going to be no pressure on kids coming back, but kids, if you're going for a starting job or you want to make a good impression, you might feel that in some sense. And how do you kind of try to balance that and make sure that everybody is comfortable, or if somebody's not, that they truly feel okay not coming in?
Yeah, the first thing is I defer to a medical staff. We've got one of the best medical staffs in the country, in Ron Corson, Dr. Reestek. We've had multiple meetings with those guys. They've met with the parents of our players and been able to talk to them and educate them. There is no pressure because at the end of the day, when you ask these players, to a man, every one of them will tell you they're working out. So, Paul, if they're working out at home, could you argue that that home environment, wherever that is they're working out, local high school, local gym that's open back up, backyard, anywhere they're working out, that environment is more safe than one that's professionally cleaned, that's monitored and taken care of from our staff? As a parent, I would certainly feel much better about my son or daughter being able to go work in that environment where it's been professionally cleaned and taken care of, outside of where they're working out currently. And we found that to be the case with most of the kids we talk to. They're much more comfortable saying, well, if I'm going to work out, then I'm going to do it there. And if I'm not comfortable working out at all because I don't feel safe, that's my decision. That's my choice. That's something I get to make on an individual basis for each and every kid. And that pressure wouldn't be put on any kid to return if they're not comfortable with that. And we bring their parents or guardians into that decision as well.
Tony Barnhart, you there? Tony Barnhart.
Yeah, I'm good, Claude. Thank you.
Go. Do you have a question? Okay, how about Zach Klein? Zach, you got a question?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody. Good seeing everybody. Coach, speaking of working out, you're looking svelte, my man. You down a few? You're looking like you dropped a couple pounds in that workout challenge. You dropped a few? What are we down to?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think maybe that was more media reporting. I think the blacks just got me looking a little thinner to you guys. I don't know how you could say I'm down a few because I don't know if you can see my whole body, but it's been a good quarantine as far as working out and trying to stay in shape, and just spending time with the family has been the most important thing for me.
Good stuff. On a serious note, what's the plan on the unfortunate case, Coach, should someone test positive for COVID-19?
Yeah, so we've got a protocol set up through Ron and his staff. Medically, they've explained that with the parents and the players as they return. Each guy will have the option of whether they want to go back home if they test positive. They can do that, and we have a quarantine policy that we're able to put guys into should they test positive. And we've also got the ability, if it happens during a workout period, that we'll have contact tracing where guys that have worked out together, those groups will stay the same, and we'll be aware of those guys. So Ron and medical staff have got a lot of things in place, but we're not looking really far out at what's going to happen in the season or what's going to happen in preseason camp. We're looking at June and the immediate issues there. And we've got some guys that are getting screened as part of the protocol before they ever come back. Every kid's going to have a talk and a conversation with our medical staff based on where they're coming from, how they feel, have they been sick recently, and then as well as a COVID test when they return.
Emily, you on?
Thank you.
Does Emily have a question? About Alex? Alex, do you have a question?
Hey, Kirby. I know this has probably been a period of time where you're asking a lot of questions and getting a lot of answers from medical professionals. What are some of the questions that you have right now that you are still kind of waiting on answers to?
Well, I could go on for an hour on that. I mean, but I can't answer those. And I also understand why we can't answer those, because everything is constantly changing. I don't know how much you guys follow CDC, but their guidelines have changed within the last 2 to 3 weeks, and they update those guidelines all the time. So we're constantly monitoring that. And that may change something. I mean, 2 weeks ago, it was thought that when we returned, everybody would take an antibody test. Now it's thought that the antibody test is really unreliable and there's not as much accuracy in it. So that's changed. That's just one of the subtle things. But as far as questions I have, I understand that you can't control things that you can't control. So I'm at peace with that. I mean, you would have told me 2 or 3 months ago, probably would have been a greater level of frustration, where now I understand it. I mean, change is just almost inevitable in the environment we're in, and we got to do a good job managing that. I mean, the first question that would come to my mind is what's going to happen in July? And I don't know that yet because those decisions haven't been made. A lot of July may be dictated by how June goes and what happens in June. So that's kind of the next step for me, is how will July apply? Will we get ability to do maybe some more walkthroughs? Will we get some required activity? Because remember, what's going on now is not required activity. Will we get some of that? That's probably the biggest thing for us, other than the health and safety of our players.
Got time for a couple more. Vance Levy, you on?
Hey, Kirby, appreciate you doing this. Hey, where are the guys going to be living this summer? Will they be in their normal arrangements? Are their dorms open? How's that shake out?
Yeah, a lot of that is still to be determined in regards to, we're working through that process with the University Housing Department and different people, but we have a lot of over 50% of our team lives off campus, meaning they live in their apartments or their designated lease area, and that will still remain the same. As far as the rest of it, we're still working through it.
And then
let me go on to Kelly Price. Do you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering, because of the adversity of kind of this situation, have you learned anything about any of your guys or your team as far as like their attacking workouts and, you know, the way they're handling this adversity?
Yeah, I mean, I think every kid to a T has done a tremendous job. I mean, the first level of commitment in handling of adversity would be our team GPA. To be over 3.0 for the first time ever as a football team, incredible for those guys to come back, finish strong. You know, before we went on spring break, we didn't really know this was coming, and we had the highest markers of the semester that we've ever had. We were on our way to our best semester ever, and we had made a kind of a overall concerted effort to improve that area, and our goal was to have a team GPA of 3.0. Well, we went on spring break hitting our marks to do that, and then we finished it with all the news and all the transition of going online with that, and that was an incredible semester. That's the first adversity they came over. Then as far as workouts, you know, a lot of our guys, you guys have known, have posted workouts, and there's been a lot of workouts that you haven't seen that they've sent to each other among position groups, and that's the first sign that there's a level of commitment that you need to be successful, and I'm looking forward to getting those guys back so they can do it here.
We got time just for one more. Let me just go back to Emily. Are you on? Did you have a question? Or Tony Barnhart? Okay, I think that's about the time that we have, and appreciate everybody tuning in, and appreciate Coach Smart spending a few minutes with you. And if you have any follow-up, you can certainly call me after the Zoom call is complete. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirby.